So you belong to the ivory tower. I see this ivory tower. Power. The material world makes you feel superior. So then you look down with scorn at your brother. But your flying space is getting very narrow. Soon you won't be able to resist the arrow. Birds that fly high, none of them ever touch the sky. Birds that fly high, you gotta fly back down to die. So flap your wings and fly. You could never touch the sky. And don't care how high you fly, you gotta fly back down to die. Birds that fly high, you gotta fly back down to die. Politics and politicians is the problem. Power and corruption stands behind them. They created dirty middle class society. Within that circle, them control all the money. If they could have paid their way, they'd live forever. But we all got to go 6 feet under. Birds that fly high, none of them ever touch the sky. Birds that fly high, you gotta fly back down to die. So clap your wings and fly. You could never touch the sky. And don't care how high you fly, you gotta fly back down to die. Birds that fly high, you gotta fly back down to die. You remind me a lot of the vultures flying in your private jets and helicopters. At the expense of the poor, you built the castle. After using us, you're giving us the hustle. You feel you are so protected up in orbit. You don't know you're just another flying target. Birds that fly high, none of them ever touch the sky. Birds that fly high, you gotta fly back down to die. So flap your wings and fly. You could never touch the sky. And don't care how high you fly, you gotta fly back down to die. Birds that fly high, you gotta fly back down to die. Mr. Big Man, hear the words of this man. You only created your own damnation. You make vanity and luxury your glory. But behind that stands a very sad, sad story. What does it profit the man who owns the whole world and yet suffer at the loss of his own soul? Birds that fly high, none of them ever touch the sky. Birds that fly high, you gotta fly back down to die. So flap your wings and fly. You could never touch the sky. I don't care how high you fly, you gotta fly back down to die. Birds that fly high, you gotta fly back down to die. Thank you all. This next song I'm about to do has become public domain. It no longer belongs to me because it's about 50 years now. So it's a public song, it's not mine again. But I'm always proud to sing this song because that's the song that really, put a stamp on the whole thing.
Germans have figured out a way to increase water pressure by 15 times without using any energy.
Is it public or not? But I'm going to sing it for the public. Life is a stage, and we are the actors, and everybody have a part to play. Like a never-ending movie with all different characters, each one have a role to portray. Down to these scavengers and them barristers, all them doctors and lawyers and these ministers. So this honorable this and this honorable that and this lady so and so. So apart all these people playing, I want you to know. So don't blame the politician anytime you find you get bad administration. That was meant to be. The fella is playing his role superbly. Now don't blame the judges for their injustice. Why blame the criminals, I say? It's a part they come out to play. This movie star in the Garden of Eden. The star and co-star was Adam and Eve. They played their part, now they are dead, but not forgotten. And when I study the role of Adam, it makes me clean. Shows man should be able to take example and see from the beginning, woman was trouble, but in your rule is according to your script, I say, and your fate would be judgment day. And according to the part that you play, the master will pay. Now down to the little children, From the time they born, they join like great movie. But some of us fathers, my friend, through some wicked woman, never saw a baby. Although abortion is just an act, we defense of you like that part at all. 20 women were born when the curtain falls. But say what you want, believe I'm not joking. The women are the greatest performers for me. They're always important and come to their love making. These people could win an academy. They could put you in heaven, they could put you in hell. Woman could put man places, man would shame to tell. So then a man must want to kill because the party have to play. It's the love, hate his heart and soul. So you see where the females always have the better role. So don't blame Christine Killer just because she read the lives of some politicians. She played a sexy character and she fought Kukumu with her sexy accents. So we should tip our hats to England and say hurrah for good old Christine, the greatest actress, no doubt, that the world have seen. Trinidad have some scenes that I go off on. The acting is greater than on Broadway. Not even on the movie screens. You just see people perform like Trinidadians are talking about, and how they could play. Trinidad does the honor. Chief role is Kaiso. Then featuring playing fun, football and the limbo. But for playing the part of smart man and smart woman, I could bet my hand. And for creating a big impression is a Trinidadian. Now the ambitious guy with the chocolate and tie, who walks the road and roll up his head high. You would shock to know where that same ambitious fella had just go. But it's a part he come out to play. We really can't shake the fellow with scorn. And as they say, the show must go on. You gotta fly by one to die. Politics and politicians is the problem. Power and corruption stands behind them. They created dirty middle class society. Within that circle, them control all the money. If they could have paid their way, they'd live forever. But we all got to go 6 feet under. Birds that fly high, none of them ever touch the sky. Birds that fly high, you gotta fly back down to die. So clap your wings and fly. You could never touch the sky. And don't care how high you fly, you gotta fly back down to die. Birds that fly high, you gotta fly back down to die. You remind me a lot of the vultures flying in your private jets and helicopters. At the expense of the poor, you built the castle. After using us, you're giving us the hustle. You feel you are so protected up in orbit. You don't know you're just another flying target. Birds that fly high, none of them ever touch the sky. Birds that fly high, you gotta fly back down to.
Birds that fly high could never touch the sky. Birds that fly high got to come down to die. Flap your wings. At some point, those wings will be clipped. Brother Valentino, the People's Calypsonian, giving us two classics. Birds that fly high. And life is a stage. We all have a part to play. So those who think that they will fly high, they got to come back down to die. The only bird that fly high and didn't come down to die was Teacher Adriana Younge from Boxing, Brian Moses' neighbor. Good evening to you, my brother Brian, and all of you are joining us from Canada, Toronto. Teacher Jad said, when even a young boy and he play cricket, and they bowl to him, when he knock a ball up in the sky, you go up, you know, come down here, pocket, you have to take him. That's the only bird that fly high and never come down to die. Teacher George, he said, okay, Kano bowl fast. And when he knock Kano off the back foot, a ball go high, he not come down, and your pocket got to take him. Teacher George, yo. The Proverbs man from Buxton, Guyana. You learn them things because when you go a Teacher George, for pick guinea, you sell guinea and you're up there, up a tree, pick a guinea, you don't want to eat out a guinea on top there. See, you tell you all kind of story, but I don't know it was so bad, though. He knocked 6-6. I don't hear what Clive lied. Or you stop a ball of cover, you don't want to eat a guinea up there because Good evening to all of you. Good evening to my sister Lynette Greenwood, my Congo people. Good evening to you, Minette Sion, Vibert White, Flash Gordon, all regulars. Good evening to all of you. We have the Apostle on tonight. And as you know, the Apostle has been working very, very, very hard these past couple of weeks, as he always does, because he's on top of the story. Good evening to all of you, wherever you're joining us from. Good evening to my Buxtonian people. And, you know, I was explaining to somebody, you know, Buxton is the generic name. You get Buxton, friendship, Annidale, where Changi Gal come from, Annidale. You get vigilance, and now you get all the little scheme all wrong. But Buxton is the generic name. So when I say Buxton, I mean Frenchiponians, I mean Annandale people, I mean people from Vigilance, I mean people from Strathspey, and so on. Vigilant Front now. Long time when me a boy growing up, Vigilant Front, only them backers they live there. Now you go Vigilance Front, there's a whole big scheme, and so on. Good evening to all of you. Good evening to the wonderful people of West Coast Babies. Good evening to Linden. Good evening to Linden. Good evening to all of you, whether you're joining us from the United Kingdom, where it's morning, it's past night, is after 12 there. Good evening to you. Good evening to you, Asquith Schultz. Good evening to you, Mortimus Trim. Good evening to you, June, Chase, Sion, Harry. Good evening to all of you. Donna Liverpool, I know Donna coming to us either from Dutch Guyana or French Guyana. We can't settle the two. But here you go. You know, Dutch Guyana, French Guyana, all the same. When you go there, you know, you go there a long time and you come back. So you come back from Dutch Guyana, that's a Suriname, and Cayenne. You go with Dutch Guyana and Cayenne. The whole of French Guyana, they call Cayenne. And so we had some people from Suriname in Buxton. They're still there. We call them Dutchy. Dutchy, their daddy, they come from Dutch Guyana, Suriname. And always a close relationship. They just discovered the family of our great Kofi, 1763. They discovered some of his family among the Maroons in Suriname, in Dutch Guyana. And so there is a close relationship between the Guyanas, French Guyana and Dutch Guyana, and what was once British Guyana, or Guyana. And of course, as we know, the Joka people, the Saranac and all of them who run away. They come, they watch the plantation, they say, not me, I ain't staying there. They go away, ice their bundle and go away. Of course, we had some Maroons, I think. Well, of course, we know the Maroons down there in Kanji, the village there that Shamar Joseph come from, that we discover when Shamar burst onto the scene. That's a Maroon community. There were some Maroon communities down the Demerara River. And of course, Jamaica. Jamaica, I had the pleasure of going up into Akampong, one of the Maroon communities in Jamaica. And, you know, I was remarking to my students that, you know, we hail the Haitian Revolution as the first Black Republic, really. 1804, the triumph of that revolution. But in 1764, Kofi and his revolutionaries took the Berbice colony. They took it for a year. It was a republic for a year. And Kofi was there negotiating with the Dutch, right? And before that, in 1738, the Maroons in Jamaica signed the treaty. And so, in effect, the Maroons in Jamaica are really the first Black Republic, because what they created up there was a republic. In fact, you know, they became more Africa than Africa itself. Because having been isolated up there in the community, they had to be, we talk about self-reliance, you talk about self-love. There are no multiracial nothing up there. That's Africa. Reproducing Africa. And like I said, I had the pleasure to go up there and to talk to those Maroons. And although they're now integrated into Jamaican society, that fierce independence and that fierce sense, they have to plan their own food. They have to create their own government. They have to depend on memory for culture. all this story what we used to talk about multi this and multi that and all that multi, the only multi they had was Africa. And sometimes, you know, the place that I happened to be born, and I spent my life, Buxton, in a sense was a maroon community, because although it was integrated into the rest, as you know, them people there behave different from everybody else in Guyana. They stop train and they tell themselves that you go to Hell-Peck, you meet a Boxman. Yeah, come and you hug you up a boxer. So in a sense, although our villages were not physically isolated, in a sense, they were maroon communities. Because they were isolated in many regards, and they had to reproduce themselves in those villages. So each of those villages like a maroon community. And then when, you know, people from West Bobis and East Coast, and some from West Coast move and they go a Wisma, Mackenzie, and they amalgamate there, and they create this new community there. The African creolization is, even sometimes we talk about Creole, we think that, you know, it's just mixing of different races, but no, sometimes it's mixing of ethnicities. A place like Linden is the African creolization, where people from West Bobis, East Coast, and West Coast go there and they mix up together and create this new. And that is why Linden, in many regards, is like the rest of Guyana, but also different from the rest of Guyana, because a new thing they create there, an African creolized community, which is what they did when they came from Africa. They came as Coromantes and Igbos and Akan and Congo and so on. And when they meet on the ship, they watch and everybody black like one another. They say, we're Mati. And when they come across in the new world, they have to mix up and create Africa. They mix up the different religions and create voodoo. They create comfort. They create Baptist, Orisha. It's the mixing. So when you look at a place like Linden, there's the mixing, or you go to New Amsterdam, they come from down the Kanji River. They come, some of them from West Bobis. They gather in the tongue and they're creating. They left all about and they're going Georgetown and they're creating constantly African creolization. As I always tell you all on this program, Creole is not just the mixing of races. That comes later. It's the mixing within races. That is why at Annandale, they call themselves Congo Creole. Not just Creole. When they get there, them thing I saw Congo Creole, 1B1. See them a go where 1B1, Congo Creole. They were anthropologists before anthropology. Professor Leo Desprez came here to do research for his book in the late 50s. He says the only African place he has gone to, this is the 1950s, where black people are calling themselves Africans in Guyana. Your Guyana, our Guyana. Then the rest of the world grappling with moving from Negro to Afro. No. Desprez shocked the hell out of he wrote a book on cultural pluralism in Guyana. It's one of the seminal texts written in the 1950s. A French Yankee, it was American with French heritage, Leo Desprez, came to Guyana and was shocked that black people in Guyana are not calling themselves Negro as in the United States. Not even Afro. African, as they would say. Good evening, and you all are making me steal the thunder. But it's not me night tonight, it's the Apostle night. It's the Apostle night. But I just want, part of the mission here is for us to believe, not to believe that Africa is outside of us. That Africa is inside of us. We start as Africans and then we become other things. Right? We come across the water as Igbo and Karmanti and Hausa and Yoruba and Akan and all of them things, and we became African. And from African we became Guyanese. And we become West Indian and all the other things. But we start as African. So all you black people who still don't say me and African, without African, I am nothing. Venezuela, with the help of friendly countries in the world, can take away Guyana. Guyana done. We have seen countries go out of being. Just come off the map. Czechoslovakia is no longer on the map. You now have Czech Republic and Slovakia. So, if you were born in Slovakia in 1980, you were born as a Czechoslovakian. Today, you're not Czechoslovakian, done, gone away. You're Slovakian. Right? Civic identity can go. I yourself, me Guyanese. Don't worry, them other people were fool are you. Indian people will say, we are Guyanese, are conveniently Guyanese. They are Indian to the core, and they know that they're Indian first. Sister Amnali, she spent all her life in a black party. All her life. That's a party she would give her life for. You see, she funeral more black people than Indian people. But she didn't bury at a comfort funeral. She buried at a Muslim funeral. And she go way back a Borbis, the Edward Rossignol for rest there. And so are you black man who, like, in order to be something else, I got to throw it. Why was I? And other people don't do, they're fool are you? I live long enough to know that under Burnham, if you find an East Indian stand the 10 turn to sing the national anthem, there's a PNC East Indian. Never used to sing no national anthem. Guyana did not belong to them. As a Calypsonian would say, I lie, Chalky, I lie. No, I'm not lying. I am not saying you all should not own Guyana. Guyana is our civic identity. We neighbor string buried there. But Guyana was created in 1966. Before that, we were British Guyana and we didn't own that. We didn't own no British nothing. We know damn better we weren't no British nothing. We were Africans, those of us who were black, and East Indians, and Amerindians weren't even Amerindians. They were Arawaks. When we go to school, they would tell you about Wapishiana and Makushi. Long before me, long about Amerindian, me generation, me and that old, me meet 98. We were talking about Makushi and Wapishiana and YY and so on. Each group has held on to its identity. Black man, know thyself. Hold strong and hold aloft the banner of Ethiopia. Because at one time Ethiopia was the only unconquered country in Africa. And when I was a little boy, Mr. Roseman and them, they walk with a stick, and they must stand up with their chest in the air. Ethiopia, the land of our birth, the land where our forefathers were born. Say, what? Mr. Roseman, why you sing Ethiopia? He said, teacher, Ethiopia the only place white man conquer. When they conquer, Selassie take them back. Black man, know thyself. If you don't know yourself, nobody will know you. But it's not my night tonight. Tonight is the apostle night. Apostle.
Greetings.
Greetings. How are you, my brother? I know
I am doing well. I'm doing well, thank you. I'm actually out of town. So as always, I'm delighted to sit here with you. What I love about you is that you present some very uncomfortable historical truth that I find to be lacking from many who should be doing what you are. So I will always commend you for it. It's the truth, nothing but the truth. But again, I'm delighted to be here with you, Dr. Hines, and to your regular audience. I'm certainly humbled to be here with you. I'm doing that which I believe is the only thing that I can do.
So many times in the last couple of weeks, some of my very close.
I know of no other way than.
Yeah. Good. Yes. I was saying so many times over the last couple of weeks, some of my close supporters have been calling me and said, Dr. Hines, you have to bring Apostle on. And they would send me clips of your shows. They send me with you in the field, at poolsides, and so on. And urging me that I must bring you on. And I have been following what you've been doing since Adriana Younge. Well, let me go back partly a historian. The Adriana incident or the Adriana moment did not begin with the Adriana incident. I have argued on this program that when the ancestors moved those women to take 400, 500, 600, 700 people to the square of the revolution when Melly Mel was arrested, that was a moment where the ice was broken, because there was an ice that was casted upon us for the last 5 years, where we were being beaten as a people. We would murmur, sometimes we would bark, but we wouldn't go beyond that. And that those three ladies went against their political leadership and decided to go on the road. And those of us who believe in spiritualism, not necessarily talking religion, right? Know that these things are ordered by the unseen being. And so we move from the square of the revolution to bear witness in Linden when 2 of our young men were shot in the usual style. We came onto the streets and we snarled and we wagged our fingers and no one took notice. All right? They were looking in their direction and not really in our direction. They were not seeing how the belly was boiling, the African belly was boiling in Linden. And I remember I was watching at that funeral procession in Linden for those 2 boys, Ronaldo and Fajini. And when those young people put those caskets, those things, in front of the police station, and the police that throw tear gas out, I heard those young people say, these people don't want peace. These people don't want peace. These are young people. They're not, no politician there with them. They made their own assessment of Guyana. So when that police that killed, that police force that killed those 2 men in Linden, when that very police force showed up in front of the hotel and fabricated a story of an African child running away with a man while that child is being killed. The belly busts open. People are asking, why, Adriana would not want this, and Adriana would not want that, as if you can order black people be in slavery, go in the corner, ring the bell, work done 8 o'clock in the night, 6 o'clock, you know. Uh, but since this moment, you've been out there doing what is it about this moment, Apostle, that has moved you? You're an activist, but even activists can outdo their own activism. What is it about this moment that has stirred you to that new level of action that we are seeing?
Thank you, Dr. Hines. And I must say that even before Melly Mel and the two young men in Linden situation occurred, and I'm outdoor by this, so forgive me for your background noise, is the best I can do.
Yeah.
There was a case in Linden of a 7-year-old girl being groped by a 51-year-old man who has confessed to chopping his father to death. And when I got the report, the child attends a school for which I'm the PTA chairman, I felt compelled to find out whether the police would have been involved in an active search for this individual, because sexual assault against a minor is a very serious offense. Peer Manichan tabled that in Parliament. When I discovered that there was no active search for this man, I went with others on a manhunt to find him, because I am very, very serious about dealing with the future of our country. I believe that our children have a very critical role to play in our future. People say they believe the children are the future, but they're to treat them with scant regard. I felt it to be my duty as one who's in the community of Linden to go into dense forest with other males and females to find this man. He was found the following day because I went 4 times. The police only went once. So when I found out about Adriana's situation, it triggered me. It triggered me because I realized again that members of the Ghana Police Force, as they're called, were not inclined to do that which was expected of them. And that would be to protect the innocence of our dear little children. It's to serve and protect anyone, but more so little girls. I felt as though it was unheard of, almost impossible for me to see an assistant commissioner of police standing in front of a building, seeking to divert the attention away from that facility to somewhere else. Even worse is when the mother of Adriana Younge would have said that she was told to go home, and I saw video footage of this man trying to coerce that family and that lady to say, go home. We have a footage of your daughter with some man. I could not believe my eyes to think that Guyana would have descended into this pit where law enforcement refused to enforce law, and instead they sought to protect and preserve that which was certainly dangerous to us as a people. When I also observed Adriana's father standing there frustrated for hours, saying that he needs to find his daughter. His daughter is in the building. And he was saying that he knows where his daughter is and he has a sentiment that she's there. And again, law enforcement came in even greater numbers to remove that man. Dr. Hines, I could not help but respond. Further, I would say that because I was on a manhunt in to find that man who would have assaulted sexually the little girl, 7-year-old girl, saying that it's a woman and all that. When I heard about this Orlando, the police now, Dr. Hines, the police said that they had footage of this girl, Adriana, leaving with this man in this ROM. I was triggered because I was informed on these banks. And I said, oh yeah, well, I'm going on another manhunt. Because if after one night, some other man thinks he could take away the little girl, he shall be found. When I discovered that that was untrue, and I could have gotten myself in jail for dealing with this man they call Orlando, I thought it best to stand as a father, to stand as an emissary of what's called an apostle of the Lord Yeshua, to stand as a Guyanese man, to let the administrators understand that this is not going to go down with it. This is not going to go away as many other cases would have. This is not going to just be settled as many other things that have been settled. And that they had to be a passionate stance, a patriotic stand for the integrity of us as a people. That is what led me to the street, because when I discovered that the police were prepared to frame a man, frame an innocent man, I could not take that. I couldn't. And when I saw that they were prepared to not exercise all options in finding an innocent little girl, I wasn't prepared to take that. I was not.
Apostle Nigel London here tonight, telling you what drove him personally, and what is important there is that he gave a local incident and linked that local incident to the larger incident. And I'm sure in every village there is a similar local incident. You see, what we've been trying to do here on this program, Apostle, and you've been trying to do it in your program, is to provide answers and context for what has happened. When you're making history, and you're in the middle of making that history, you're not always conscious that you're making history.
Right.
All right? And those of us who have the presence of mind, some of us have a little bit of training, you know, in the so-called professions. We try to bring that to bear on this situation. We're not always hitting the mark, but at least we are trying to expand the horizons of people who are in this. You know, so all these statements we're hearing, well, you know, don't make the Adriana thing political. And Adriana would not want this. And Adriana would not want that. And so forth. They're innocent statements, but in many regards, they are counterproductive to Adriana's cause. Right? Because they're limiting Adriana's cause, as the government wants us to do.
Right.
To just a private family incident. All right? And some of our people innocently fall into that kind of narrative. You know? If you're a Christian or any religion, let's say you're a child of God, whoever the God is. So you're not an island. The child is not an island. The child is part of something larger than himself or herself. Which leads me to the question, in your mind, we know, look at the incident that you mentioned there in Linden. We know of young girls of all races being violated in Guyana. We had the incident, several incidents, not one, with Amerindian girls. And I'm going to say one thing, something one these days about that Amerindian thing, you know, because black people stood with those the Amerindian community when those girls were burnt in that dormitory. They stood with that Amerindian girl when she made the charge against a minister, not just by talking. And I love Amerindians. I love them. But they have not done enough. They have not reciprocated what African people did when their young girls were violated by the very forces that have violated this African girl. And there have been some little incidents in the Amerindian, some little events in the Amerindian community. I think if any community other than the African community should be out for this, Adriana should be Amerindian. But I'm going to talk about that another day. Not tonight. But I just wanted to throw that in there because I'm putting a keen eye on what's happening in Guyana for all those who are talking about multiracialism and so on and things. So, but we leave that for another night, right? Let's soak in a little bit. What is it? We know little girls are being abducted. They go missing every day. They're being violated every day. What is it about the incidents of this little black girl from an isolated village out there in West Bobis, or West Coast Demerara, East Bank, Essequibo?
Essequibo, yeah.
Yeah. What is it about that that has triggered this upheaval? Because it is an upheaval. What is it about that? And I'm asking you to reflect more than to give me a factual answer, because I don't think we can give a factual answer, because those of us, I mean, you're a metaphysical man, so you know about the gathering of forces and so on, and so you know it better than me. But what is it about this? You know, Sister Olive Sampson, this morning we were in a meeting and she said, David, you posed that question, but you haven't answered the question. And she's reminding me that I've posed that question. And, you know, we didn't get time to discuss it, but it's not a question that I pose that we can answer in a day. You know, we're answering it as we reflect. And, you know, today we are here. Tomorrow something else happens and we are there. We reflect more and we are gathering forces in order to get the answer. But what is it from your standpoint?
I'm really, really grateful that you've asked that question, Dr. Hine. And again, I say, please forgive me. I'm in an open area, so you'll have some background music.
That's right.
Now, brothers and sisters, Dr. Hines, deep within the core of my being, I believe that I somehow can contribute significantly to that answer. And it lies in a reality that we face as a people. And that reality is that when you have money in Guyana, and that's, I'm hearing it from many circles, and I observed it. When you have money in Guyana and you associate with the PPP, you have, as a monopoly, they call it a get out of jail free card. And so this little girl from the East Bank of Essequibo, somebody may have felt that they can do whatever they wanted to do to her, and because of association and affluence or wealth, they can get away with it. What caused the upheaval is that because of a class system that now exists in our society, the poor and the middle, most of the poor said, you know, no, you're not going to do this again. And that's the important term of this discussion. Again, this has happened before. This has happened not just in this environment, but in many other instances where because you have money, you violate a girl and you pay your way through and it's all right. That came to a point whereby people decided, in my view, that this is not going to happen another time because of the extremity and of the obvious, which would have been those who should have been protecting the child and looking out for the interests of a child are protecting those who deemed to be the perpetrators of an act of ill against a child. And the optics of that lent itself to very, very grave responses and very aggressive responses, because we realized that there are people who are willing to go to any extent to protect not the child, not the victim, not the poor and the underprivileged, but to protect those who have affiliations, associations, and by extension, as a result of that association, money. And that, I believe, triggered a very, very critical, serious response. Added to that, or coupled with that, would have been the casual nature with which the political administration went about this matter. Look, dealing with it. It wasn't a big deal. Nobody saw the need to say, why are people in front of a hotel all night fighting for this child or asking to get a chance to see this child? It's not a big deal. After all, it's just another little poor child. That's how people began to feel. And I believe that when Adriana was put into that pool, and I'm not choosing my words here, I'm trying to be cautious with them. When she was put into the pool the following day, that brought everything down. Because people realized that this was what they said in many videos. You hear them saying, they put this girl in the pool. We were just there. Imagine we were just in the pool. So it wasn't just a day before search. We were just, and Ghanaian language, when they say we just there, it means it wasn't too long ago. I just been in there. And I like the way you use our vernacular so often, because we have to remind how we speak. We have a very unique language. I just been in there, boy, meaning I wasn't It wasn't too long ago since I dove in here, and she was not present. That the fact that people can say, because you have money, you can kill our children and think you get away with it. Not this time. That brought a different scenario to this country, where people recognize that this is becoming the norm. And it's not a norm to treat comfortable.
Profound, profound. Apostle, I have stayed away from the technicalities of this case. You know, the postmortem, the all of those things that have to do with science, high science, not spiritual science. If it's spiritual science, I may venture a little bit, but all them kind of fancy molecular this and molecular that, I stayed away, right? I let the experts speak. But I notice you have been paying attention to that. I have a little pool in my backyard, not because I'm rich, but because I live in a place called Arizona where the place is hot most of the time. So every house in the so-called suburbs, you get pool that you can jump in. And I get a dodgy pump. You break down every 6 months. The insurance, they will patch and patch because they want to pay the money for put a new pump. So while they take a week to secure the part and so on, the water does get murky. Mm-hmm. And it occurred to me that when I got out the back there, I could see, even though the water is murky, I can see the bottom of the pool. I think the pool is about 8 feet at one point, and I think 4 feet at the other point. But I can see down, even when it's murky, when the water start get green, I can still see. And I was doubting myself when people were telling me that you can't see at the bottom of a murky thing. And so when my serviceman came here last week, I asked him, I said, Mr. Sir, if you come here and I go in this pool and drown and at the bottom there, would you notice me? He laughed. He said, Mr. Hines, he may not notice you, but we'll notice that there is an object at the bottom there. Whether the pool is clear or the pool is not clear, we will notice an object at the bottom of the pool. We may not know that it's a body, but we will know it's an object. And that's all I needed to know. Let me don't use the word fortunately, unfortunately, because we're talking about that. But a gentleman, unfortunately, drowned in a pool in Linden. And there were lots of pictures. I love Guyanese for that. Of this man in the bottom of the pool. And you were at the center there. You were doing all that. Talk us through this whole thing about what you could see in a pool and what you can't see in a pool.
Thank you, Dr. Hines. And I'm so glad that you asked the question, or you spoke to the maintenance person about the murkiness of water. Because pools are constructed generally for safety. And when I saw, and that's another thing that triggers me even more, when I can see that administration, the PVP, they're doing everything in their power to try to convince Guyanese that the most commonsensical thing is, it doesn't make sense anymore. In that a pool that's constructed primarily for safety, that's the whole technology behind it. It's blue to mimic the sky in general, because when you look in the sky and a bird is flying past, you can see the bird. 200 feet in there, you can see carrion crow, sailing, gliding, a vulture, because the sky is blue, and in like manner, pools are made for you to see objects very quickly in them. Now, when I went to the pool in Linden, Dr. Haynes Mall, the very gentleman who drowned was there that day. And a PVP acolyte crony apologist in a Connie Blair, he showed up on the scene trying to prove that you cannot see a human being in 8 feet of water. So the gentleman who was there said, his name is Henry Gardner. I said, I know the pool is closed, but and when I said, but he said, no, I saw you talking to the little girl. Go in the pool. And he gave me a face. He said, people need to see the truth. I said, before I'm going to pull, I want to throw my car keys into the pool, the truck keys, so we can see. He said, throw it. And the man was saying, Guyanese must see they must get justice for this girl. They must see. So when I threw a little truck key 3 inches into the pool of water, little key, Mr. Akani Blair, who speaks to the PPP, his program is called Point Blank. He had my phone, and he was able to see this in 7, 8 feet of water, this. And I said to him, now tell me please, if you can see this in 8 feet of water, 7 feet of water, how can you not see a whole person? I dove into the pool, and he said, I can see you. I went across 25 feet, 30 feet away from him. He said, I can still see you. I said, how can you not see a little girl in a pool? That situation, Dr. Hines, presented to me something very serious. And that is that the People's Progressive Party is prepared, they're fully prepared to tell Guyanese, and that's how bad this has gotten, to tell you how to think. Regardless of how you know to process, regardless of how intelligent you are, they're saying to you, if you want to get along with us, think the way we say. Do not challenge even what makes sense or what makes no sense, as a matter of fact. And because my nature, I'm trained as a scientist. I've never been to seminary or to Bible school. And, I've never studied to be a preacher because I know it comes as a gift. It's given to man by Yahweh. I don't have to be studying for this. Nobody ever taught me to do this. But I was trained in sciences. I'm one who would have helped to write the National Curriculum for Science for Guyana. I was the one who edited the Science in Daily Life Book 3 textbook, and I'm saying that for a reason. So once I began to hear an unscientific explanation from those who should be better than me in science, my antennas went up. When a doctor could say that before you even perform an autopsy, you could know somebody drowned. I said, I said, no, this is not going good at all. If you're going to tell me that before you even touch a person, 3 of you can be in a room and agree that she drowned, and you can also say, well, just tell me where the water came from, because you know she will have water in her lungs. I said, this is not good at all. This is bad business. This is trouble, because it is unscientific to say that you can draw a conclusion. This is called hypothesis, where you just say, okay, before I do something, I will say, I may know the outcome. But it doesn't work like that with human beings who drown. Since the circumstances surrounding which Adriana was in that pool were quite extraordinary. The fact that her body was upright within 24 hours after she disappeared was most extraordinary. That would have been a drowning miracle, because she didn't have any gases in her system, which comes from decomposition. She had no process in reference to swallowing so much water that she became heavy and sank and the rest of it. None of that happened. It would have taken 48 hours for her to be seen, Dr. Hines, to 3 days. She was seen within 24. All of those things raised serious alarms for me as a scientist. So when I got to that pool and the man showed me, he said, go in. Now, what happened? A few days later, I got a call from a PPP supporter. PPP saying, Apostle, somebody drowned in the pool. I said, who? And he said, caretaker, go now. That's the PPP telling me, Dr. Hines, go now. We want you to go to show everybody what happens when somebody drowns. When I got there, the family, the daughter and the cousin said to the police officer, we want him. Let Mr. London come and show the world what happened here. Dr. Hines, in the midst of tragedy, there was a unique sense of awareness in people's minds to say, this will not go by just like that. Show the world that my father is dead. What happened? The police invited me, say, come, the family wants you here. So I was given access, like critics said he was, but in this case, to show that when somebody's in 8 feet of water, this is what you see. People were on the road over 100 feet away and could see that man clearly in 8 feet of water. Adriana was not a miracle. It was a crime. There was nothing miraculous about her being in the pool. It was a criminal act, because you have enough evidence to show that when that man went down, Mr. Gardiner, it could be seen. I don't want to be too grotesque because I know it can trigger some people, but I saw video footage of him, of the entire process of this man drowning. It took about 90 seconds, which coincided with science. It takes about 1 minute and 90 seconds to drown. He took about 90 seconds. And in that 90-second period, Dr. Hines, there was a sequence in reference to how his body was. Flailing, then he was flailing a little more underwater. He began to sink, and he began, of course, to try to get back, because you always try to get to the top if you're drowning. He ended up at the bottom of the pool on his back. A typical drowning posture in a pool. The other thing to note is that his body was like brick within 10 hours. Stiff. We had to get rope and tie him and to get him up to the surface. He didn't float within 10 hours. And he was rigid. When Adriana was taken out of that pool, they said she was missing for 20 hours. She was flaccid. Her knees bent when her father put her to the side of the pool. Spending 20 hours in the water would not have that kind of effect. This is a criminal act. And I am grateful that Mr. Gardner's life didn't go to waste. His family said, come and show the world, show us what happened here.
And that is what true humanity, in their grief, they had the presence of mind to recognize that their father's passing may help to unlock the mystery, the official mystery behind the death of this young girl. I salute that.
And permit me if I may, the onlookers, many, numerous people were there. You know what they said? This didn't happen to the girl. Then they said, but look at his nostrils. Bubbles are still coming out, bubbles of his nostril. They said we could see. And then they're far away from this pool, and they said we could see it. Some said, but how could this happen to him? And we see something totally different with the girl. There were so many things being said that day about the girl, about Adriana, in comparison to Mr. Henry Gardner. And that did not go unnoticed. It didn't, because many who were present said that this right here is a very unique situation. Very, very unique situation. And it answered so many questions that they would have had.
Apostle London, thank you very much for walking us through that. Apostle, you know, people were standing in front of that hotel. African people, Indian people. The police was there. All the rockers. The hotel was burnt. The home of the owner of the hotel was burnt. The police were there. Not a shot was fired.
No.
My comrade Ogunse Takumo Ogunse came on this program last week and he said, do you all realize not a shot was fired? Indian people were there, they were shooting that crowd. How do we know that? Once the crowd, that body was found, and the theater moved from the hotel to Lenora police station, by which time most Indian people said, that ain't me story, right? My solidarity done. That night, the police moved in promptly, shot in that crowd, dispersed. 2 days later, people are in front of the hospital waiting for the results of the post-mortem. The police moved in, shot in that crowd again. They had already shot into the crowd in Linden, killing young Fajini. The police are shooting indiscriminately. I saw the picture still in my mind even when I don't see it. The young man with the police bulletproof thing, dodging bullets. And later on that night, the people seized the country. They closed the country down with a combination of action. The roads were barricaded, tires were burnt, tires that didn't belong to the government. People who were not manning the barricades or burning tires, they were presenting to their young people with tires. Go burn them. I made the point in this program, those people did not go to Ayangana and raid the armory.
No.
They didn't go anywhere and raid the armory. They used whatever they had at their disposal, their own old tires. And they blocked the roads and they burn tires that people do all over the world, that Indian people do in this country all the time. I am old enough to remember when Indian people burned canes that belonged to the state, when they were angry with it. I supported them. I supported them with a burn cane as an act of defiance against the state. The point is, people who were shot at for 2 days in succession responded. They took the country. Planes coming in, had to turn back and go to Trinidad. That's when you know you're in control. You're like coffee now. You take control of the country for a night. As happened with those things, there was looting of property. There was looting of property. But, Apostle, one observation with that so-called looting: Indian people were not targeted. Indian girls were not beaten and raped. And people cannot see the positive in that. What they see is this looting and stealing, mainly of Chinese businesses. And Chinese businesses were targeted as enemies of Guyanese, not by black people, but by Indian businessmen, which was appealing to the PPP government, saying that Chinese people making plenty money. They weren't charged for terrorism.
Yeah.
I'm laying it out here bare to you. My question, put in perspective, because again, this is not a straight line. The human being is not a predictable being.
No.
The human being is a complex being. You don't know what the human will do from point to point, minute to minute. I have seen women take blows from men day in, day out, and one day they just broke up everything in the house. Broke up wear plate, broke up this. If you get a car, they move outside, they let out the air from the tire, they broke up the windscreen. Human, it's human. One day, and you look wrong with them next to you. By move out the way. That's you, little pig never tell. By move out the way. Girl, move out the way. And they lay bare thing in that house that they even help to buy. I give that to say that those people out there that night, they were not beasts. They were human beings, and they're doing what human beings do every day. None of those so-called looters would like anybody to go to their house and loot it if they get a house. So even them, I don't think, agree with looting as a natural act of resistance. But we use what we have at our disposal when we get becks. Again, put that night into perspective for us.
I shall, and I would like to begin with one of the most unique, unprecedented, and almost unbelievable acts on behalf of members of the Ghana Police Force on that night, where for the first time in all my born days, as they would say in the Bahama, I saw policemen telling people who were looting in a store to keep your head down and the face must not be seen. I have never heard of that. I have never seen policemen try to protect the image, the identity of people who steal. I have never seen that. And I was wondering what would make policemen tell young men, especially of African descent, to keep your head down while they have guns over them in the store, red-handed now. I know that it's normal for the police force to make exhibits of them. Or you have to parade and show them off. You caught a thief. They have there's no value to a thief. There's no glory to a thief. So you have to show you off and put you to public shame. That was the only night I know that over 10 young men, over 15 of them were told to keep your head down, lay on the ground, keep your head down. Nobody look up. And I said the following day, whose identity would be protected among thieves? Why would they be protected? Why would they not want the world to know who these young thieves are? Could it be that they were on a particular assignment, the thieves, and so their face should not be seen?
Mhm.
I had a problem trying to figure that out.
Mhm.
On that night, I was at a challenge trying to figure out who would benefit more. Because this is how I reason. Remember, I'm scientifically trained. So I'm reasoning beyond, I'm in the analytical phase here. If the claim is that the PPP supporters were targeted, which wasn't the case, but if that's the case, I'm trying to understand. Earlier in the day, on the previous day, the supporters of PPP were saying, "We're done with y'all. Barrett, we're done with you because you've gone too far. This is the limit for us and you. You have this is a little picnic, this is a little girl. We're not K, we're done with you. We're important for you." I'm saying, how could it be with 3 days later? The party who would benefit the most, in my view, which would be APNU or AFC, in that the PPP supporters will be done with you, why would they go attack the people who are now saying, "We're done with y'all"? I'm saying this, it can't be that you're so desperate to lose that you go attack supporters of those who say to the PPP, "We're done with you. We're done with the PPP." I again began to analyze and say that this night was very strategic. This night was not just about looting in response to an occasion. It was not just about attacking people in response to a situation. It was a tactical move to remedy a situation, to say, now hold on, we have to play the race game. And we have to say to people, listen, you see they're attacking y'all, come back home. Because we have protection for you. Come back on this side. I say further though, Dr. Han. I took every risk, as they want to call it a risk, and I will do so tonight to be called a terrorist because it's easy to be called terrorist now again. But I said, how could you tell me that if I get angry at the death of a person, I'm enraged by the fact that a child has been murdered, in my view, and nothing was done to prevent this in reference to all the action taken by the policemen. And in my anger, I said, I would block the road with tires, I'd burn them because I'm mad. If that response is met with a politician telling me, no, go home, sit down and be peaceful, hush him out, don't talk. I remember my foreparents on the plantation who were going to watch someone be cut to death, raped to death, beaten to death, burned to death, and be told, go home, shut up, say nothing. You go in there, and tomorrow when the bell rings, go to work. I remember that because the African has a unique experience that no other ethnic group in this country has. We cannot take that for granted. And in my intellectual world, I began to say, is it something within our loins that says, and our DNA that says, this is too familiar? This is too familiar. You're not going to tell us how to respond to pain. Don't cross the line to tell me how to respond to your injustice. Because once you do that, you are confining me again to a plantation where you do me wrong, you do me harm, you do me whatever you want to do to me. And I must subject myself to what you say. So I must grieve the way you say I should grieve. I must be angry the way you say I should be angry. You must, in your anger, shoot and kill me or instruct me to be shot. But in my anger, I must submit to you. And this is a tipping point in a society, a tipping point in humanity where we decide whether we will survive or will bow. And that's not a good place for a nation to be. And that's exactly where we are right now. Will we bow or will we survive?
That's exactly where we are tonight. Apostle, I'm in your corner. I mean, you're telling people how to mourn. Oh, you telling people you go to funeral, you'll see people lick themselves down on the ground, women wailing. You know, it's like you going up to the child and telling that you're, oh, don't cry so hard. Oh,
right.
I mean, what
right.
kind of country are we living in where you are now telling us how to mourn?
And I remember, Dr. Hines, forgive me, but when my grandfather, my father's father, he was the best in the world to me. He taught me to be a bad boy, a tough man. He taught me to be a man, boxing man. Walter London. When my grandfather passed away, I was writing common entrance. I should have written it on that same day. And it was Easter time. I had a nice kite made for me. And I started to destroy this kite. When the hearse came to take my grandfather, he died on my bed. I was breaking up the house, things and breaking the kite. I'm just telling you, this is my grandfather. I was mad.
Yes.
You took, as a 10-year-old boy, you took the best that I have in the world. He's gone. I was breaking up my kite. Dr. Hines, my father, never once told me to stop. Never. Never. My father, one of the most peaceful men you'll ever find, said, leave him alone. Because he understood that my violence was directed towards, or was born out of my pain. I was hurt. I had no other way to express myself. I didn't want anybody to say anymore. There was nothing fun to be had anymore because my best friend was gone. In this case, our daughter was gone. I saw my baby in the pool, not Adriana. I saw myself saying to the policeman, let me find my child. And you tell me no? I am Adriana's father. That's how I see myself. In my rage, I go to my public road. I go to your yard and I say, I will light this tire because that's all I could do. I don't want to burn nobody's house. I don't want to burn anybody's school. I don't want to burn any building. I want to burn a tire because I'm mad. And you tell me, go home and shut up. Find another way to express your pain, not out here. Dr. Hines, in countries of the world that are more developed, we see leaders would stand on the other side of the tire and have a megaphone saying, we understand. We know your pain. We get to the bottom of this. Give us some time. Yes, you're mad. They don't say the police should have killed them. When they raised the price of gasoline in France by 1 cent, people burn gas stations and they didn't shoot anybody. By 1 cent for gasoline, they said, okay, we know you're mad. We won't raise the price of gas anymore. But in this land of ours, this dear land of Guyana, our life is worth people being able to pass on the road. That's how cheap we become as a people. We don't have value anymore. They see us as nothing. So if a businessman cannot pass, shoot and kill London. That's where we are right now.
Different value system. Professor Eddie Glaude writing a book about the different value system when it comes to the lives of various groups in society. The Black people, there is a different value that is put on the lives of Black people that is manifest day in, day out. Apostle, you're a religious man. We have the situation where a young man, a DJ, write a song with familiar lyrics, stink and dirty, nasty lyrics, which has become normal in Guyana, you know. The leaders would go to the stink and dirty and they take out things. Look how the leaders mix in with the people. The government sponsors stink and dirty to come in and hold the big concert and so on and so forth. This young man write a lyrics with dirty lyrics, denigrating the goddess of Hinduism. First of all those who are now cussing the young man, they be hypocritical because tomorrow night they're gone with Vibes Cartel who sing dirtiness about Jesus. But you see, Jesus is not Indian, right? So he can sing dirty about Jesus. But Lakshmi is Indian, and Indian are Brahmins and Chatri. And so you can desecrate Jesus, but don't desecrate our supreme race in this country. I said those who are talking about dirty lyrics, they're hypocritical. Yeah. Now that doesn't take away the fact that the lyrics are stink and dirty. But then you open the papers and the young man is called in for questioning. The ERC is calling for legal action. Bandits come out in West Coast Sunday night, Monday morning, they all up the bay, calling for the... No, you're a religious man. I don't go to church steady, but I still consider myself a religious man of sorts. But I know that I ain't living in a theocracy where religious law now becomes the supreme law of the land. And then today, as if to make it worse, the ERC said ban Van Vice Cartel. Well, ERC, I may quietly say, well, ban it. I'm a little careful because I get a little artist in me. And I know the artists get a little license. All right? But you say ban Vice Cartel, but you call for legal action against baby, what did I scale off? Ban Vice Cartel song. All right. Let me say, I'm going with you. But why you didn't say ban Skello song? No, you said lack of Skello. Show me the key. Pastor, I don't think there is a better man, Apostle, to talk about me because you're a religious man. You talk about you're a religious man. So you're not an infidel, right? This about religious sensitivity, I agree. All right? But are we a theocracy? I don't know. Talk to me, Apostle.
Thank you. And when you say I'm a religious man, I smile because for me, religion is not whether I'm Christian, Hindu, or anything like that. Pure and undefiled religion is to keep yourself free from being tainted with the world system, to stand up for the poor and the needy. It's important to note what, to me, according to scripture, pure religion is. Because there is impure religion, which has injustices in it, which has kowtowing or bowing to the powers that be to get what you want in it, which has being silent in the face of injustice and all of that. There's a whole lot to impurity. But pure religion and undefiled religion is to say that the systems of this world that are evil will never influence you, and that you stand up for the poor and the needy. When I observe the situation, I recognize the ERC are beyond hypocritical. They are now entering into what I call criminal behavior. Because a young lady in Linden who lives in a predominantly African neighborhood community, her name is Siobhan Lorimer. Her husband works with Barra Jagbio. That young lady spoke about, I don't want to say the word sorry on a broadcast, but she said only black people, P-U-S-S-Y, does leak, or P-O-K-E-Y. She said it almost a year ago. I reported that to the ERC, among others. A commissioner, Dr. Hines, a commissioner, sitting commission ERC, reported it to them and say, hey, look what's going on here. To this day, she has not been arrested. She's not been called out publicly. When with the Mohammed, she said he should find better people to hang around. And she put the image of a monkey, black monkey, beside it. When Ghana Daily News said that they're going to have $100,000 distributed to the Mohammeds 4 o'clock in the morning, she made a mockery and said, yeah, I ain't seen any Indian people, the only black people are there. All of these things are reported to the ERC. All. And they simply said that they're looking into it. They're asking the police to do something about it. The police had enough to call me in Linden to tell me to drive down to Georgetown to give us a statement. I said, your eyes pass me. How can you tell me to drive to you? You pay to talk to me. And I'm simply reporting to you what has been an attack against an entire ethnic group. Nothing. Suddenly with Baby Skello, the same ERC, has energy. And though he apologized, because we have to take note of that, he said he was sorry. That was not enough for them. Further, I say, Dr. Hines, a young man named Imran, when Quinlan Bacchus was shot, Imran came out and did a TikTok video and said that we, he didn't say anything, we should kill the police. That's what he said. Not them. The black man should kill the police. That's what he said. And further, he's going to poison all of us if he has a chance to do it. The ERC never called Imran in, never had this man charged. He said he's sorry, case closed. Baby Skello said he was sorry, but it was not enough. So when I again published and tagged the ERC, so look, made a post and say, listen to Vibes Cartel song. This is what it's saying. I showed them the lyrics of the song. They have the nerve to tell me that times that they want to ban the song, not the artist. Because the PPP boys from, I think 94.1 FM people, I think it's St. James. I think they're the ones bringing Vibes Cartel. So you cannot cancel the show. You just ban the song, but bring the artist. Since Vibes Cartel was deemed to be worthy to be in Irfan Ali's house when the song was made years ago. This is not a new hit. So Irfan took Vibes Cartel into his house when he had this song about Jesus, disrespecting the Christian community. But to some degree, I must say without reservation, that if the Christian community, which represents 55 or more % of our population, if you were a tad more active and vibrant, I could guarantee you that many things I wouldn't even try. So this is a perfect chance for the Christian community to step up to say, if baby Skello could be dealt with in this manner, then there would be no show for Carter. Not, you're coming here. But it wouldn't happen because the culture of Christendom is to be nice and warm. The culture of my Savior, of my faith, is not to be nice and warm. It's to stand up against injustice. It is to speak out for the poor and the needy. It is to fight against the oppressor according to what is documented in Scripture. There's a difference. My belief system is different. And I believe with all of my heart, and I say this, please, this doesn't go to Dr. Hines. This is not his view. This is my view. I have had people disrespect me about my faith, tell me all kinds of things. And I never once called the ERC for it because I don't care what they do. My policy is simple. I don't defend my God. If he is superior to me, I don't have to defend him. That's the bottom line. So it doesn't matter what you say about my God. It doesn't bother me. Because if in my faith, I believe that he is my creator, he is my superior, he is sovereign, he's the creator of all mankind, how could I defend him? I think he's just and he knows how to act on his own behalf. At the same time, though, our Constitution doesn't lend itself to being grossly disrespectful towards the people's religion. And I must say further, that our Constitution also affords us some right to examine certain things carefully. And in analyzing baby Skello, he has some serious issues. That boy was, he is an image that was created, and now they want to try to control it.
Yes.
You can't control it.
Yes.
Don't tell me that the other songs being lawless and lewd were okay.
Yes.
The other songs, but what he must do to girl and do not do to girl and put this in and take it out, you had fun with it. If you encourage somebody with a slight mental disorder to say, listen, go ahead, it's okay, go ahead. When do you say it's enough? Or when it hurts you? It doesn't work like that because you created the monster. And when you create the monster, you have to feed it. Now it's feeding time.
Well said, Apostle. You see them chaps were looting? There's PPP creation.
You created the monster.
The Skellos are PPP creation. That is their way of saying this is what black people make for do. This is what black people make for do. Come, put on a red jersey, we're going to pay you plenty money. Come and sing at the rally. Now, what they're doing is taking away the license from the artists. And all those ivory tower artists, the poets and the dancers, where are they? In their mind, that's about Skello, it's not about them. But laws may be made for one person. Eventually, they consume all of us. That's what Martin Carter meant when he said, like a jig is shake the loom, like a web is spun the pattern. All are involved. All are consumed. It consumes all of us. We are not a theocracy. We are not ruled by religious law. We are a secular society. It doesn't mean that a secular society does not protect the sanctity of individual religions. Yes. Yes. But one makes a distinction between social disrespect,
right,
religious disrespect. I have spent the last couple of days talking about Super Blue song, Soca Baptist, Itako Baptist woman whining in.
Yeah.
Sparrow sing about marriage in. He said she's sexy. Well, the Indians found that thing. Apparently, they didn't feel that Indian women were sexy. That's what Sparrow responded to them and said. And Sparrow said she's beautiful and sexy. You see? And we go through, explain a thing about Ras Mas, playing on Ras. He said the Rastafarian them massing. Ras Mas is real mass. Only Jah. The Calypsonians always played on rather in a little bit more polished way to sing I Mass.
Right.
I Mass. Taking the people's church and putting it in the trump up. Our religious people have always played around the edges of religion. You see? And so therefore, I don't listen to them thing. It's yesterday I listened to the Skello thing, you know. I refuse to listen to it because I know them kind of thing. I don't listen to them thing. I do not listen them thing. Yes, there's some calypsos that play around. You know, Sparrow talk about every now and then you cuff them down, they love you long and they love you strong. But at the end, he said, then they leave you eternally. By then, we all get caught up in they love you eternally. Right. But as the artist does, he said, they leave you eternally. Dennis Belfort, a black woman, said, give me an Indian man. I love an Indian man. Masculinizing the Indian man. And Indian people love it. They love it. They love it. Even our folk music. You know, we play around with wrestling. Changi man something, Lily so, Koli man some, black man something, Biggie so. But the very folk song say, Shilling Gaba, Changi man not come down a chamber for 2 piece onion, talking about Changi man having sexual advantage of the African woman because you go for trust onion for 2 piece onion. Equal opportunity. All right. So, at one point, they denigrate the Changi man, demasculinize him. The Changi man something really so, but black man something big so. But in another song, they masculinize the very Changi man. Shilling Gaba, Changi man not come down a chamber for 2 piece onion. Changi man, you see. And the artist is the artist. No, I don't listen to them stink and dirty thing. I don't listen to it. No. You know, so I am not making an excuse here for Skello. But Skello apologizes, you said?
Yes, he did.
Skello is a product of the stink and dirty environment. Skello, He's facing criminal charges.
Yes, CID arrested him. Yes, he was arrested. He was arrested.
Somebody is asking about the Eddie Glaude book. It's Dr. Eddie Glaude Jr. The book is called Democracy in Black. It's one of my favorite books. I use it in my race class all the time. It's an excellent read in which he talks about the different value systems for black and value system for others. And it's about the human value system, all right, for different races. So the Democracy in Black is the name of the book by Eddie Glaude Jr. Today we learned that the 2 shows lock out Muhammad. We're going down the road, you know. We're going down the road, Apostle.
Yes,
and Guyanese people, sometimes we don't recognize, and the elites recognize, but they pretend that they don't recognize. We already there, because if the PPP didn't feel that they could do these things, they wouldn't do it. No. But they already feel that they could do it. All right. So the 2 shows today said that, or yesterday, said Mohammed can't go in. Then there's some assault and say they apologize. Mohammed can come in. My brother, you from Linden. I cut my teeth on anti-Burnham politics. Linden was one of the places that the WPA was very, very active. Burnham never lock up anybody for burning cane.
No.
Burnham never lock up no artists. When them used to sing, Rebel used to sing against the PNC, but he would bring second every year. He won't bring first.
No.
But at least he would bring second. And he himself wrote a calypso that I's a second man. Burnham never denied him and banned him from thinking he bring second.
Yeah.
Was it 2 years ago when they banned that little child calypso? We made a big noise
last year. Yeah.
And we remained quiet. Look. Apostle talked to us about where we are headed as a country.
We are in or under or facing a dictatorship that is unique in that it's one in which you find people of very, very low intellectual levels seeking to be dictators over those, or many, of a much higher IQ. And so the actions that what I now call the People's Pathetic Party happen to be displaying point to the fact that they have run out of ideas as to how they demonstrate power over people. So it's come to be a lot more overt now. Everybody could see it. So two shows, don't have this boy go there. Don't have Muhammad go there. It's not direct. Do not have him go there. In one instant, if you offend the God of the predominantly Hindu party, we come after you. If you offend the God of the Christian party, then whatever. Not a big deal. We are seeing every day tyranny. It got so bad that when the young lady Nurse King was secretly recorded in a private environment, a vehicle, private space to which our constitution affords all of us the right to enjoyment. We could enjoy, meaning the way you want in a private space. In a private space, she was secretly recorded. She even asked the question, am I being recorded? If it's her voice, indeed, okay. That woman is now being called a terrorist. She has a suckling babe. She has two siblings. Her parents have died. And so she's now the legal guardian of a 13-year-old and 11-year-old. They are without their sister because the sister had a private conversation in a private vehicle, in a private space, and it was spilled or spewed in the public. And this PPP says, you are a terrorist and you can face as many as 15 years in jail for simply saying, according to them, you were there, the girl didn't drown, you observed the girl down, so it didn't matter if it was drowning the patient, she was sexually abused and all that. Oh, you're a terrorist. This country is headed down a path whereby even with the Mohammeds, the US made it clear, very clear, the sanction is not against Azadin and his father. It includes May Thomas. It includes her. And the sanction is clear that the US businesses and those with interest in Ghana from the US should not do business with these people. It never said that they can't do business in their own country. They cannot travel across their country and you cannot even interact with them because they're sanctioned. What I find to be most hypocritical about these people is that they're seeking to tell us plainly that they can do what they want, but we cannot. They are free to terrorize people, but we cannot. They're free to do worse than anybody else can. Do not chide them. Do not say anything ill against them, because once you do certain things, we're against you. Oh, Ali spoke to misinformation is not a threat, and he misinformed us and said pathologist told him that the girl was not put in the pool, which is an absolute lie. It is a disgraceful act. Because common sense will tell you no pathologist can say where somebody was put in reference to water, unless they did an analysis, which it didn't do. And this is a frightening situation to some, but to me, it is an enlightening one, because I'm saying that which I said to Ghana long ago is simply coming to pass. I told you that you are in trouble. You are facing a very corrupt system. It's so bad, Dr. Hines, that certain people in our nation have no voice. We had guardians of democracy who stood in the midnight dew to guard boxes, containers, according to them, with guns in hands, according to them. But you couldn't find one of them with a gun to say, we're going to find you, Adriana, at all costs. Quite a hypocritical society. We have one Guyana, only one Guyana. But Azadin is not allowed to go to Region 9 because he's not in one Guyana. So Azadin is no longer Guyanese because for some reason he's a threat to the PPP's voting base. I want to make it clear to them that every Guyanese has the right to enjoy their space in this country within legal parameters. As long as you're not going beyond the legal parameters, you have a right to enjoyment of freedom of movement, and he should sue anyone who seeks to do otherwise. You have a right to live. He has a right to do business. There's so many things created out of this situation. And further, I say, since what you spoke in reference to the two showers, has some bring what I have to say now. We are witnessing the times in this country that a situation in which a man's entire business is crippled. Many employees are crippled because of a system. And that system states that we have evidence in our hand, evidence that we asked for. It's now in our possession. But there's no charge being laid. My question is, what is the purpose of having evidence if you don't intend to act on it? It has to be that you're trying to have a system created whereby you would use evidence to control someone's decision-making. So if you decide to enter the political fray, we'll bring the evidence to charge you. If you back out of it, we'll leave you free. That's a dangerous precedent to set in our country because the system is not good. I'm not talking about Mohammed alone. I'm saying about the system. The system is bad. The system is broken because we have a dictatorship, and mostly they are inexperienced and they're ignorant dictators. And it doesn't work well in any country.
It doesn't work well. Apostle London here tonight, and you all have stayed through the entire conversation. I've left this comment by Deborah Ann Gray. Dr. Hines, you need to put aside a night every week to have such discussions. And she's speaking about African history and African culture. Thank you, sister. I put it there so I don't remember it, and you all have been saying it to me, and I've been given a little 5 minutes, 10 minutes there, and so on. And I am violating my own politics because the politics that I have been taught by UC Guyana is that politics is the medium through which you deal with culture and all the other human things. And I get it. I get it. And I am going to do better. Yes, I'm going to dedicate one show per week, maybe once every 2 weeks to begin, to deal strictly with African history, because it is very important that we arm ourselves with that. I know, Apostle, you do a lot of teaching yourself. You know, we mix the politics with the culture, but people are right. As I said, in the communities, you got to separate the sheep from the goats sometimes, right? So that we're very clear. And it is very clear here that our people are in a sense ahead of us. Apostle, I got almost 500 forwards of Abraham's speech.
Yeah.
They're from ordinary people who I won't think get time with what's going on in Burkina Faso.
No, they do.
My goodness. It says to me that our people are in front of us. We think that our people are not conscious. We think that when we teach, it's falling on deaf ears. You know, Walter Rodney always said when he went out in the gullies in Jamaica to go teach African history, because they didn't want to teach it at when he went out there, and them Rastaman and Rastawoman start clap African history on he said, oh, Jesus Christ. Imagine he get a whole big PhD, you know, and he does not know. And I am finding that out here. The conscience of our people, really, and it is what is happening in Guyana. It is that all this thing that has been locked up in our people, and the fools do not understand. They know the head from the shoulder. They don't know the head from the tail. They're watching people reacting as human beings and calling them all kind of stupid names and terrorists and this and that. And they're not understanding that what they're seeing before them is the highest form of consciousness expressed by a people who for 400 years and more. And then our Indian brethren and our Portuguese brethren came here afterwards. And that collective consciousness plays itself out on the canvas in a way that Dutch people will never understand. Because for them, the human being is a voter who you can manipulate, including their own supporters, including their own people. They're a little bit subtle how they do it to Indian people, but they do it nevertheless. And our Amerindian brethren who were here before and who have smelt the stench and the beauty of our landscape long before the rest of us came here, and have a keen sense of the environmental politics, not environmental in terms of green society and so on, environmental in terms of the spirits and the gods and the ancestors and the forces that are always around us. I say, when I see black women close their eyes and they get that candle and they're swaying from left to right, and the candle thing and burning them, you're a scientist. You're a scientist. It is not an accident that they shut their eye, shed their eye, singing and swaying from left to right, and the candle thing that pour and burn them. If you don't understand humanity, you cannot understand what is happening. The relationship between the fire.
Yeah.
One of my heroes wrote that book, The Fire Next Time. The Fire Next Time, if he were in Guyana, they would arrest him for terrorism.
True.
Will arrest him for terrorism. There's always a relationship. I said, the Prince of Non-Violence, 4th of April, 1968, they kill him at the motel there in Memphis. 200 American cities burn. And black people are saying, burn, baby, burn. They're not being terrorists. They're being anti-terrorists.
Correct.
And now is the time, my brother, for those of us who are in, I don't like the word vanguard because it's them communists that use it and they just use it with intent. But those of us who are on the front lines, it's for us to stay the course. For us to stay the course, now more than ever, because our people are behind us and in some ways in front of us. And we've got to stay the course. You heard it here thing. It's not I say I want to teach African history. It's these people are saying, Dr. Hines, in all this politics, put aside one night for African history. I say no more, as them well-spoken village men would say. I say no more, teacher. Your closing thoughts.
My most profound moment when I can sit and speak freely with a brother, with someone who I know is hated by many, and that's a good thing because so am I. However, there is a responsibility on our part to ensure that there's an awareness among us, while there's a consciousness that says that we are a part of a whole society. We are part of an entire society. Nonetheless, we must understand who we are to function efficiently in a society amongst others. And the reality of our situation in our country now is that there is a greater call for unity. one thing that encouraged me when I went to Tushan with Adriana's situation is that out of an 11-year-old girl's murder, tragedy, there was a moment, and there still is a lingering moment of profound unity where nothing else mattered to us more than freedom and justice. That is critical. That's important. And we would not allow that moment to be lost because freedom and justice must always be that which we enjoy as a people. My Guyanese brothers and sisters, this is the hour for us to recognize exactly what we're dealing with. We are unprepared to accept any administration who tells us how to think, how to grieve, how to speak, where to speak, and even more so, even in our private spaces, we cannot say what we want to say. This has to be the end for all of those atrocities. And not just the end in that manner, but also the beginning of them being held accountable for what they do and say to us. I would like to encourage all to continue to stand. Further, I say that the roads of Guyana, we are a socialist nation according to our constitution. The roads belong to us, and we need to take them again by walking, standing, sitting, whatever you have to do, to say we demand justice in our society. And we also demand restoration of freedom. There is no Guyanese who should be in a jail being deemed a terrorist by a group of people who are the greatest in terrorizing the people. It is not going to be accepted. I therefore call on you all members of the House of Assembly, but those who have courage from the opposition side, 31 of you, return to the streets of Guyana, stand, because this is a political movement where we understand that the legislators on the other side have misrepresented, they've abused, and they're misusing the law. If you are the ones who frame our laws, then stand in defense of it. The same thing I tell you with the teachers. If they want to abuse the law, the legislators must stand in defense of the same. And in this case, I call on all members of parliament from the opposition side to come out on the streets and stand in defense of the Constitution. Stand for that which you paid to. And I promise you that the people will stand with you at all costs. Regardless of creed, regardless of ethnicity, we must stand together. Dr. Hines, thank you so much, and do well, be strong.
Thank you very much, my brother. Always an honor to have you on in this space. It enriches it. It washes away those unwanted forces and spirits and cleanse the landscape for us to see through to the other side where we'll get. Thank you very much. Apostle London joining us tonight, and perhaps the poet who's today our terrorists, their terrorists, puts it in perspective. Martin Carter. No, I will not still my voice. I have too much to claim. So if you see me looking at your hands or listening when you speak, know that I do not sleep to dream, but dream to change the world. I've learned from books, dear friend, of men who lived in a room hungering without any light, of men who could not die for death was far too poor, of men who did not sleep to dream, but dream to change the world. So if you see me looking at your hands or marching in your ranks, know that I look for fire. Martin Carter. Martin Carter, our national poet. We are moving on, and we are moving forward, and we are moving to the other side. The side that has been promised to us, not by others, but by our own strength and our own struggle. From the choppy seas of the Middle Passage to the choppy seas of today's Guyana, we have carved the freedom way for others to see and for others to walk through. Our work is not over. Those of you who are Christian know that you say God is not finished with us. We continue to move forward, to move through Babylon, because Babylon's system has never held us back and will not hold us back. Let them terrorize us with their terrorism charges. Let them jail our young people for speaking languages that they have inculcated in them. Let them jail our young people for heeding their calls to making money. Let them do their do, because we can do back our do. It's not the knock that is ultimately the freedom bell, is a knockback. And every time they knock, we must be prepared to knock back. The knives in the market don't always determine this sale. Sometimes a little silent tongue betrays a steely resolve. We are human beings. And our fight is not just a fight for political rights. It's a fight for human rights. It is our humanity that these people want to take away from us. But we come from the cradle of humanity, the cradle of humanity. And if you are from the cradle of humanity, you hold on tight to everything that humanity promises. This is my hand for the revolution. That night there'll be thousands of torches. From the hospital, the lame will come. Those who are sad will be happy for the revolution. Those who despair not shall be happy for the revolution. Those who are mad will become sane for the revolution. And I myself shall be so fiercely happy that I'll make my shirt a banner for the revolution. A banner for the revolution. When I was a teenager, I stood on the political platform and recited, as we say, that poem by Martin Carter, that little-known poem, the banner for the revolution. 50 years later, we are called upon to make our shirt a banner for the revolution. The real revolution. The one where our people will not be tricked by mercenaries. The one where our people will not be contrary, because as Brother Bob says, in every man's chest there beats a heart, a cry for the equality of the human being. We are moving on, and we are moving through. And no bullet can stop us now. No wanted bulletin can stop us now. If we must die, then let it not be like hogs, hunted and penned in an inglorious spot, while round us bark the mad and hungry dogs, making their mock at our course lot. If we must die, then let us nobly die, that even the monsters we now defy shall be constrained to honor us though dead. O kinsmen, let us face the common foe, and for their 1,000 blows, deal one death blow. What though before us lies the open grave, like men, with our backs pressed to the wall, dying, but fighting back. Claude McKay, Jamaican, Caribbean, that poet, that poem was recited by none other than Winston Churchill when England was facing the bombardment from Hitler. He invoked the poem from a little-known black man from the Caribbean. And if he can invoke Claude McKay's poem, what is wrong with the sons and daughters of Claude McKay invoking Claude McKay's immortal words? With our backs to the wall, pressed to the wall, dying, but fighting back. Always